Welcome to our deep dive into one of the most fascinating practices of ancient civilizations, the mummification process. While many are familiar with the idea of mummies from movies and stories, the reality of this intricate process is rich in history and cultural significance. Join us as we explore the methods, rituals, and lesser-known facts surrounding mummification, particularly in ancient Egypt. Mummification dates back to at least 3,500 BCE, during the prehistoric period in Egypt. The earliest examples of mummification were not the elaborate processes we associate with the later periods of ancient Egyptian history, but rather a natural form of preservation. In the arid desert climate of Egypt, bodies buried in shallow graves or left exposed to the elements would often dry out due to the intense heat and low humidity. Initially, these naturally preserved bodies were simply the result of environmental factors. The hot, dry air acted as a dehydrating agent, which slowed the decomposition process. Archaeological findings from this prehistoric period show that some of these early mummies were intentionally buried in the sand, where they would be further protected from scavengers and the elements. As time progressed, the ancient Egyptians began to recognize the significance of preserving the body. By around 3000 BCE, with the emergence of early dynastic Egypt, funerary practices began to formalize. The mummification process started to take on a more intentional and ritualistic approach, reflecting the growing religious beliefs surrounding death and the afterlife. By 2600 BCE, during the Old Kingdom, mummification had evolved into a highly developed art form. This period saw the construction of the first pyramids, such as the Step Pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, which served as monumental tombs for pharaohs. The transition from simple burial practices to elaborate mummification rituals was primarily motivated by the desire for immortality and the belief in an afterlife. The process became increasingly sophisticated, involving specific techniques and the use of various materials. Skilled embalmers, often priests trained in the religious and practical aspects of the process, began to perform mummification with a focus on preserving the body for eternity. The embalmers were deeply aware of the cultural significance of their work, as they believed that a well-preserved body would ensure the deceased's spiritual well-being in the afterlife. Egyptian practice of mummification is a testament to their deep beliefs in the afterlife. Over thousands of years, their techniques evolved with advancements in knowledge and culture. Let's explore the mummification process in ancient times and compare it with how modern science approaches the study and preservation of mummies today. In ancient Egypt, the removal of internal organs was a crucial first step. Embalmers carefully extracted the stomach, intestines, lungs, and liver, as these were most prone to decay. The organs were then embalmed and stored in canopic jars, protected by the four sons of Horus. The heart, considered the seat of intelligence and emotions, was either left in place or replaced after being treated. Modern researchers, using CT scans and endoscopic tools, have uncovered how skillful the ancient embalmers were in this process. Scientists have found that some bodies, especially during the Third Intermediate Period, 1069 to 664 BCE, show evidence of surgical precision that rivals modern techniques. Unlike ancient embalmers, researchers today preserve the organs inside mummies by stabilizing tissues with special chemicals and preventing environmental damage rather than removing them. Natron, a naturally occurring salt mixture, was essential for drying out the body. The body would be covered with natron for approximately 40 days, completely dehydrating it and halting decomposition. This meticulous step preserved the body's appearance and prevented bacterial decay. Modern preservation techniques often replicate the effect of natron using desiccants or controlled drying environments. Scientists use advanced materials to simulate the salt's dehydrating properties without damaging the fragile tissue of ancient mummies. Digital imaging allows researchers to study how natron altered the body's cellular structure over time, providing new insights into this ancient method. Ancient embalmers used oils and resins derived from local and imported plants to anoint the body after drying. These substances prevented further decay and gave the body a pleasant aroma, symbolizing divine purity. Resins were also used as adhesives for linen wrapping, providing additional protection. Modern scientists study the chemical composition of these ancient embalming fluids to understand their antibacterial and antifungal properties. In 2023, researchers identified resins from Southeast Asia in Egyptian mummies, revealing the global trade networks of the time. Today, synthetic polymers and advanced conservation materials are used to stabilize mummies while mimicking the effects of ancient oils. Wrapping the body in layers of linen was both functional and symbolic. The linen preserved the body and acted as a protective barrier against physical and spiritual harm. Wealthy individuals received elaborate wrappings, sometimes incorporating inscriptions, amulets, and jewels between the layers. The wrapping process could take weeks, with priests reciting spells during the process. Modern archaeologists rarely unwrap mummies, as it risks damaging the fragile linen and the body within. Instead, non-invasive methods like 3D imaging and X-rays are used to virtually unwrap mummies, revealing their inner structure while leaving the original wrappings intact. When conservation is necessary, researchers use delicate tools and materials to preserve both the mummy and its wrappings. The final step of the mummification process was placing the mummy in a sarcophagus, accompanied by grave goods such as jewelry, tools, and food for use in the afterlife. Elaborate ceremonies like the opening of the mouth ensured the deceased could eat, drink, and speak in the afterlife. These rituals were performed by priests, often with the involvement of the deceased's family. While funerary rituals are no longer performed, the cultural and spiritual significance of these practices is deeply respected. Researchers carefully document the placement of grave goods and analyze their materials to understand the deceased's status and lifestyle. Museums aim to honor these traditions by displaying mummies in ways that preserve their dignity and educate the public about ancient beliefs. From ancient rituals to modern scientific analysis, the mummification process has transitioned from a sacred art to a window into history. The knowledge of ancient embalmers, combined with today's cutting-edge technology, continues to preserve the legacy of Egypt's eternal quest for the afterlife. Mummification was not merely a process of preservation, it was deeply intertwined with the beliefs and practices of ancient Egyptian religion. The process reflected their views on death, the afterlife, and the importance of the physical body. To the ancient Egyptians, life and death were part of a continuous cycle, and mummification played a crucial role in ensuring a successful transition from the mortal realm to the eternal afterlife. The ancient Egyptians held a profound belief in an afterlife, a spiritual realm where the dead would continue to exist. They viewed death not as an end but as a transformation, a passage to a new existence. This belief was heavily influenced by the myth of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, who was killed and resurrected, embodying the cycle of death and rebirth. The concept of Marat, representing truth, balance, and cosmic order, was central to their worldview. Egyptians believed that to achieve eternal life, one had to live in accordance with Marat. The heart of the deceased would be weighed against the feather of Marat in the Hall of Judgment. If the heart was lighter, it signified a life well lived, and the deceased would be granted passage to the Field of Reeds, a paradise where they would enjoy eternal happiness. In ancient Egyptian belief, the physical body was considered essential for the soul's journey in the afterlife. The term Ka referred to the life force or spirit that needed a physical vessel to reside in. This belief necessitated the preservation of the body through mummification. The mummified body was seen as a home for the Ka, ensuring that it could recognize and reunite with it in the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians also believed in the Ba, the part of the soul that could travel between the physical realm and the afterlife. The preservation of the body was crucial for the Ba to return and interact with the physical form. Thus, elaborate efforts were made to ensure that the body remained intact and recognizable, allowing the deceased to live on in the afterlife. Mummification was enmeshed with various rituals that underscored its cultural significance. The elaborate embalming process was steeped in religious meaning, with each step regarded as a sacred duty performed by priests. These rituals were believed to invoke the favor of the gods and ensure the deceased's safe passage. The use of amulets, charms, and inscriptions during mummification was also significant. Each item was imbued with protective qualities and was intended to safeguard the deceased on their journey through the afterlife. For example, the Eye of Horus symbolized protection and restoration, while scarab beetles represented rebirth and transformation. The opening of the mouth ceremony was a key ritual conducted on the mummified body to restore the senses and abilities of the deceased. This rite ensured that the individual could eat, drink, and speak in the afterlife, emphasizing the belief that the deceased would continue to exist much like they did in life. Mummification also reflected social hierarchies within ancient Egyptian society. The wealth and status of an individual greatly influenced the complexity and cost of the mummification process. Pharaohs and nobility received the most elaborate treatments, often involving intricate burial chambers, exquisite sarcophagi, and a treasure trove of grave goods. Commoners, while still mummified, often underwent simpler processes. Some were buried in shallow graves or in less elaborate wrappings. However, the desire for an afterlife was universal, and even those of lower status sought some form of preservation, often utilizing the natural desiccation provided by the desert. The cultural significance of mummification extended beyond ancient Egypt. The practice influenced neighboring cultures and became a symbol of ancient Egyptian civilization. Today, mummies are important archaeological finds, offering insights into ancient beliefs, health, and daily life. The fascination with mummification continues in modern times, as researchers and historians study mummies to unlock the mysteries of the past. From medical examinations to genetic analysis, these ancient remains provide a glimpse into the lives of individuals who lived thousands of years ago. Mummification was not merely a process of preservation. It was deeply intertwined with the beliefs and practices of ancient Egyptian religion. The process reflected their views on death, the afterlife, and the importance of the physical body. The practice of mummification began to decline around the 4th century CE, largely due to the spread of Christianity, which encouraged different burial practices. As a result, many of the traditional beliefs regarding the afterlife shifted, leading to the abandonment of mummification. The mummification process remains a captivating subject, revealing the complexities of ancient beliefs about life and death. From its inception in prehistoric times to its evolution in the hands of skilled embalmers, the art of mummification reflects a culture that revered its dead and sought to preserve their legacy for eternity. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the mummification process. We invite you to explore more about ancient cultures and their practices, as there is always more to learn from the past.